Welcome back, guys. In today's video, I am going to give you a brain dump. First and foremost, let me tell you, none of the words rolling out of my mouth right now should ever be misconstrued as medical advice. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a medical professional of any kind, so really I'm not qualified to speak on these things, but I am going to share my personal experience with you, and it's going to be mostly centered around my experiences in talking to real people all over the country, struggling with addiction to 7-OH or MGM. But before I begin, I want to give you some basics. This is pretty much going to be everything that you need to know about 7-OH and the semisynthetic products that have flooded the market in the last couple of years. Kratom has many alkaloids, and alkaloids are the chemicals found within the plant that produce a range of effects. For those of you who are experienced with Kratom, like myself, I've been a consumer for 14 years. Kratom can give you energy or focus. It can help you relax. It can help ease discomfort or pain. That, of course, is not me telling you what Kratom does. That is from anecdotal responses of people all over the country. There are many alkaloids in Kratom that are really not studied, but there are two very commonly known alkaloids, metrogenine and 7-hydroxymetrogenine. They're found naturally in the plant. Although metrogenine is a very common alkaloid found in the plant, 7-hydroxymetrogenine is 0.0015% depending on the powder or the potency, but it's a very trace amount. And the reason why I call 7-OH products semisynthetic is because they're not derived in a conventional extraction method. People are not taking raw leaf powder and simply extracting the 7-OH from it. They are taking the raw leaf, making a metrogenine extract, and then using a chemical process, which Hamilton Morris discusses on his channel in depth, to convert the metrogenine into 7-hydroxymetrogenine. Another unknown, lesser known fact about 7-OH is that when you consume Kratom, a small amount of that metrogenine found in the material, whether it is a powder, capsule, or extract, converts into 7-OH in your body. That being said, I think working in the industry for the last 4 years, we've never seen such a prolific metric of growth of revenue, of overall Kratom sales, if you include 7-hydroxy. 3 years ago, maybe a few million people in the United States were consuming Kratom on a regular basis in various forms, and within a matter of about a year, millions more stepped into the arena to consume what some of them had perceived to be a Kratom product by consuming 7-OH. And I think it's an important differentiation for people to understand that conventional Kratom products, extracts, powder, capsules, that's Kratom. Taking one alkaloid out of the array and pumping it into a product, aka 7-OH, isn't really Kratom. And there's a lot of contention between the original Kratom companies that are pissed that they've lost revenue to 7-OH, that they demand that the 7-OH manufacturers do not call their products Kratom products. But here's the thing. If you go to a store today and you buy a cannabinoid product, that might be THCP or Delta-9 or THCA, what are you going to call it? Are you going to call it something completely different other than cannabis? No, it's related to cannabis. So for your mind's simplicity's sake, you'll probably call that a cannabis product. And I think that is the same mechanism of behavior within the Kratom industry. It doesn't change the fact that these 7-OH makers used underhanded tactics in order to gain more market share and sell more product. It doesn't matter. They were going to call it a Kratom product, and that is where there's a lot of difficulty with state legislation that seeks to ban all Kratom because they can't differentiate between Kratom and 7-OH. But let's get back into the basics of it. Kratom has a 22 to 23 hour half-life. For those of you who don't know, that means that after you've consumed Kratom, half of it has left your body in roughly 22 to 23 hours, which means that you don't necessarily need to dose super frequently. You could wait about a day after consuming your first dose of Kratom. 7-OH, however, has a 4-hour half-life. So initially, a new user of 7-OH will get this wave of euphoria, pain relief, whatever it is that they're seeking from the product. It feels great. And after they build a tolerance, they're going to need to rapidly dose. And that means withdrawal symptoms are going to come on a lot quicker with something like 7-OH versus Kratom. And I'm not saying Kratom doesn't have withdrawal symptoms. I'm not saying Kratom isn't addictive. It is definitively addictive and habit forming. What I've experienced talking to you for the past year is a myriad of responses, a myriad of reasons why you might have consumed 7-OH over Kratom. Some of you were tricked into believing that 7-OH was Kratom when you went into a store to ask for it. Some of you were told by a friend that you'll save more money by switching to 7-OH from Kratom. Some of you were told that it is a tremendous analgesic product and you have been seeking tools to deal with your chronic pain. Some of you have treated it with respect and only consumed a small dose every day. Some of you have gone absolutely crazy with it and are consuming anywhere from 100 to 3,000 milligrams a day. I've spoken to so many of you who have called in scared that you're about to lose this product, wanting to feel normal again, or some of you who are not willing to readily admit are looking for something that'll give you the same high as 7-OH, but you don't want to continue spending the money you're spending on it. So it's really hard to sort through the various reasons why I'm speaking to somebody. It all kind of sounds the same. It all kind of sounds like somebody who's freaking out right now because they're about to lose a tool or something that they have access to, somebody who's scared, they don't want to go through withdrawal, they can't afford to be down and out for 3 days, somebody who read a comment online that said that the 7-OH withdrawal was the worst thing they've ever experienced and they went through heroin withdrawal so they would know. And I'm here to tell you guys that I've seen so many people successfully quit using a wide variety of methods. Some of you have cold turkey quit, some of you have quit using Kratom extracts, some of you have gone to a doctor to go on Suboxone, some of you have thought you were quitting by buying a product labeled as Kratom that had another derivative, MGM15, in it, and you had no awareness of that because it wasn't on the label. So it is a really muddy market right now, and there's a ton of people voicing their frustration with our government for trying to schedule 7-OH, and I am with you because I am not a prohibitionist and I don't think things should be made illegal, but I do think this is a reckoning for us to look in the mirror and understand that we're not happy. As a society, we are not happy, and we are chasing products that make us feel good, even if it's just for 15 minutes. So addiction, when it comes down to the brass tacks, has very little to do with the substance. There are a number of people who are addicted to any number of drugs that have never tried fentanyl, that have never tried cocaine. Maybe their drug of choice is alcohol. Maybe their drug of choice is caffeine. Maybe it's sugar. Maybe it's a pharmaceutical that they're prescribed by their doctor, so that makes it feel okay. And maybe some of the comments that you're seeing online that are blowing things out of proportion are only doing so because they need to feel victimized by their misuse of a particular product. You can seem like a bigger victim if you make it seem like your addiction to 7-OH or Kratom had nothing to do with you and your personal choices. And some people are absolutely taking that road. On the flip side of this, the content that I'm seeing because my algorithm feeds me Kratom related news constantly is opportunists. Some of you might say that we are opportunists because we make content talking about this, but I always go out of my way to present it in as neutral a manner as possible. But I see rehab facilities that are taking this opportunity to swoop in and charge you $12,000 for a visit to get over your addiction to 7-OH. I see people selling quitting supplements, which are basically overpriced multivitamins, and they're telling people that Kratom is killing all these individuals that we've never even heard of because it hasn't hit the airwaves. Honestly, it's very frustrating. I've mentioned in previous videos to you that I left a very lucrative career to come and do what I do today because I am passionate about these products, and I do think that they can be a better alternative to some for their misuse of other products. I've watched Kratom give people their lives back. I've talked to the people who've used Kratom for 15 years that it has added value to their life, and I've educated myself pretty thoroughly on the subject. So when I see these people foaming at the mouth to get a couple of bucks out of your pocket, to feed you fear, to be able to enrich themselves, it's tremendously frustrating. What I want to recant here is to remind you that if you are currently trying to quit 7-hydroxy and you are looking at Kratom or some other product to be able to make you feel as good, you are seeking the wrong mission. Your receptors are overstimulated right now. If you're consuming 300 milligrams of 7-hydroxy a day, the best thing that Kratom could do for you is make you feel mostly normal as you get out from under your 7-OH addiction, but it is not going to get you high. And if you continue to try and consume more Kratom in order to match that high, if that's even crossing your mind right now that you demand to feel good and continue on this path, you're going to overconsume Kratom and it's going to make you feel like shit. So I don't know how else to put it to you. My personal experience was that I was consuming 300 milligrams, 200 milligrams a day, and I quit cold turkey using Kratom extracts. I felt normal. I didn't skip a beat, but I didn't go crazy to try and chase the buzz that I was getting from 7-OH. And when you are consuming 300 milligrams a day, let's be real here. That's not therapeutic dosing. That is chasing an effect, chasing the dragon, as they might say. So what I'm here to remind you of, again, you have the capacity to quit on your own. You do not need to buy any products from us or anybody else in order to do it. You have the capacity to quit with medical supervision. You can go to a doctor. They can prescribe you a pharmaceutical product. I'm not going to put a value judgment on what those products are. I have a strongly negative opinion about most pharmaceutical products, but it's a doctor. It's somebody who's been trained and they have the know-how and the experience to speak in a qualified manner that I don't have. So I'm not here to poo-poo what they might bring to your life. What I don't want to see any of you do in your quest to find another substance that matches the buzz of 7-OH is to go to the street drugs. That is where we will see a rise in overdoses, and it's going to be a tragedy. And we're playing right into the hands of our overlords that have schemed it to be this way. In previous videos, I mentioned that they're scheduling SR17, which is another tragedy in and of itself, because for some people, it seems that that product was the answer to their addiction. I'm not a person who sells SR17. I don't make any money if you buy SR17, but I think that it was a marvelous product for many people who were able to get out from under fentanyl, heroin, 7-OH, Kratom, whatever product they seeked to quit that was within the opiate category. And that's going away because the makers of Suboxone are poised to make a lot of money. But if Suboxone brings you back to baseline, then it's a win for society too. And I'm not afraid to say that. Let's recap all this. Remember that 7-OH is found naturally in Kratom, but remember that the 7-OH products on the shelf have very little to do with regular Kratom. The federal guidelines are going after 7-OH and synthetic products. The companies that have made the synthetic products oftentimes have used nefarious marketing practices in order to get as much money from you as possible. We need to recognize that the players in the industry that we're fighting to protect in some cases may not be the ones that deserve our protection. But I understand that the vast majority of people who are scared right now are put in this position because of rash, quick decision making that's taking something off the shelves with very little time for you to plan or prepare. So I want to remind you again that I do believe you have the capacity to do this, and you can fix this, and you can find it any number of ways. Seek out the help of a medical professional, do your research online, and don't be afraid to look in the mirror at what has happened during your addiction to this substance, because only if you're able to really see how much money you've spent, how much you've consumed, can you really visualize how big the problem is, and you can't solve any problem that you can't see. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in on this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you got something to say, drop it down below. I'm here for it.